Hey everyone, I am your astrologer Brittany of Ethereal Astrology with horoscopes inspired by the moon. Let me be your guide. Today you're watching the horoscope for the full moon in Cancer, which occurs on Friday, January 6, 2023 at 6:07 p.m. Eastern Time or 3:07 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is happening at this full moon in Cancer is that we're better understanding our situation, our soul's needs, our personal truth, and how to realign our lives with that in a better way from here on out. So that I think is very, very good, even though we need to make sure that we follow through on that and adjust things in our life more completely to be in alignment with that as we move forward and don't stop halfway. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. If you would like to hear more about that, please stay tuned because I'm going to hop into it right now. In order to get started, what I want to take a look at or do first, I suppose, is place on the chart what it is that I'm referring to here so that you can see it and follow along with me. So let me do that now. This horoscope is for the full moon in Cancer. As a result, I've adjusted the chart accordingly. We can see that because I've got the moon here in Cancer, 16 degrees, exactly opposite the sun here in Capricorn at 16 degrees. And when the moon opposes the sun like this, that is considered here a full moon. Okay. What are full moons all about? Well, full moons is when the moon is the furthest away from the sun and therefore the brightest in the sky. And because of that, it tends to be a time of bringing things to fulfillment, right? Or taking things as far as they can go. And also too about getting insight or illumination here on something that also we've been trying to work towards for a while and get. What are we stepping into, taking as far as we can go and getting insight and illumination on? Well, that has to do with Cancer here because that's the sign that the moon is in. What is Cancer about? Cancer is a cardinal water sign ruled by the moon. It has a lot to do with our emotions, with our intuition here, and I think too with the truth and the depths of our soul, since it does rule here the lowest part of the astrological chart. Not only is it about that, but I also do believe that it is about what's fulfilling and meaningful to us here too that's going on. Not only that, but Cancer also has a lot to do with our personal life, our private life, here, and feeling more grounded with a much stronger foundation here as we move forward. So what that means to me here, I guess to bring it together so far, is that what is happening at this full moon in Cancer here is that we're stepping into, I think, some big insight here or understanding about our emotions, our soul's needs, our intuition, what's meaningful to us here at this time. And how to do that, right? That will make us feel a bit more grounded in life with a more firm foundation. Okay. Now, before I move forward to tell you more about that theme here and more details about it and how it's going to play out, I do like to go backwards in time just for a minute here before we go forwards in order to better give you the context of this full moon and how we got here and why this is important. And to do that here, I'm just going to go back in time a minute, but it seems we've lost the chart. So hold on. Let me see if I can fix it. Okay, there we go. Sorry, a little bit of a technological difficulty while Mercury's retrograde. Okay. To do that, I'm going to go back in time to catch you up on a few things, and I'm going to make this more brief, this video, but I'm going to go back in time still to an alignment that occurred January to April of 2020 here. And at that time, what we had was Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, which came conjunct here in the sign of Capricorn. Okay, now that is a very significant alignment because it is a very rare one. Saturn and Pluto only make a conjunction with each other about every 35 years and not always with Jupiter there. So it's a pretty big deal. Not only is this a pretty big deal, but it's also not really a pleasant one. It's not a pleasant alignment either because Saturn and Pluto can be very difficult and Jupiter doesn't really help in that instance. What was that alignment about? January, April of 2020. Well, that was about us realizing that there were a lot of things in the structure of our lives, Saturn and Capricorn, that we did not like and hadn't liked for many years and possibly even decades prior to that, that we needed to fundamentally change Pluto in a very, very big way, Jupiter, to overcome so that we can move into a new, different, and better experience of life. Okay, not only is that what happened in January to April of 2020, but I think from January to April of 2020 all the way to April of 2022, which was what, last year now, at a new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, I think we did that. I think we ended a lot of things that weren't working for us and experimented with a lot of new, different, and better things here that we might have liked enough in order to, in April of 2022, give us a little bit more of a solid foundation or solid start here into a different experience of life, especially because Taurus is a more stable sign here and is an early sign of the zodiac and is a lot about fertility and abundance that was going on there. Okay, that I think I liked a lot. But even though in April of this past year, we started to feel much better, like we were out of old hard times and into better times here, I don't think we felt like we were fully where we wanted to be in this new and better experience of life. And because of that, I think we then tried to do even more things to propel us forward. But as we tried to do more things, I think we ran into another issue, especially 2 weeks after that. I think it was somewhere also around April or May of 2022 when we had a lunar eclipse here in Scorpio. And I think what happened at that lunar eclipse in Scorpio 2 weeks later is that we realized we were being blocked from bringing more new and better things into our lives. And I think we realized that we were being blocked from bringing more new and better things into our lives here because we were bringing more new, better things into our lives by an old standard, by an old definition of ourselves and who we were, which no longer applied because that old person was gone with the old things that we got rid of, and that we now needed to change our perspective on life, our standards, and how we proceeded after this point. And we needed to change it to be slower because we don't know who we are yet in this new experience of life, and to be more simpler and more basic and more true to our needs and values and the core of who we are while we're trying to figure everything out. Okay. And I think we tried to do that from April of last year for, to be honest, almost the entire year, to slow down, right? And to be more thoughtful about our next steps here in our life as we bring more new and better things in. That was going on there. And I think the more we thought about it, because we had a lot of time to do it last year, as we got to the very end of it, December of 2022, around the full moon we just had a month ago in Gemini, I think what we realized by thinking more slow, more simple, more in tune with our needs and values, that a lot of the things that we had done from 2020 to now to bring new stuff into our life wasn't really the best. It wasn't really the best or the most in alignment with who we are and who we're becoming and who our needs are, even though they did serve some kind of purpose, which was to get us out of this nasty stuff that we didn't want to be in, and that now we needed to fix a lot of stuff that we did from 20 to 2022 that was no longer in alignment, right, with what we had realized and with who we are becoming, to redo stuff or let stuff go here in order to move onwards. And because of that, we then, at the following new moon in Capricorn, which was 2 weeks ago now, also in December 2022, then started to take action, right, to redo a bunch of stuff from 2020 to now that was not truly in alignment with who we are, to make it more resonant with our soul's needs, with our values, and with what we've learned about ourselves over the years here. And I believe that those things that we did 2 weeks ago to start to readjust and redo things from the past 2 years has finally started to pay off here at this full moon in Cancer has finally started to pay off at this full moon in Cancer, which is what this video is for, to help us understand more about what our soul's needs are and what we're feeling and how to honor those here, and to start to align our lives even more towards our own truth in a way that's making us feel more grounded and like we have a more firm foundation now to continue building a new chapter in life here after this point. Okay, and that's it. That's all I'm going to say there in terms of the past context, because that's it. I'm now just going to repeat that very quickly one more time here before we move onward. So let's do that now. What I think is the big picture context here of this full moon in Cancer is that we're finally understanding, I think, our true soul and what's in alignment with our soul and our needs, and what isn't, and what needs to be redone from the past 2 years here in order to align things better with ourself here. And we're also starting to, I think, see some of the progress that we've made in order to do that, which is helping us to feel more solid and more grounded here, with more of a foundation and a different and better experience of life. Okay. That then, what I want to do next now after that is talk a little bit more specifically here about this full moon itself, and the aspects it's making and what it's about, to give you more details. And to do that, I'm going to dive in now to the aspects that it's making. So we're going to start there. I think the first thing I'm going to do is plot the full moon again on the chart. Okay, here it is. The moon opposite the sun. Okay, one of the very significant alignments that this full moon is making, I think the most significant, is that the full moon is opposite Mercury, which is still retrograde in Capricorn, while the sun is conjunct it. Okay, so I want to start there. This, to me, I need to note, is a great thing. I really like it. Okay, why do I really like it? I really like it because both the sun and Mercury are benefic planets, which means they typically bring positive things more so than some of the other planets. Not only do I like it because of that, but also because the sun, Mercury, and the moon are all very friendly. They're all personal planets. They're all closer to each other. They all get along. Not only do I like it because of that, but also too here, because this is the whole reason why Mercury goes retrograde. Mercury goes retrograde because it gets too far away from the sun, which is the core of our being and who we really are and what's really important to us. And it needs to come back. It needs to come back to meet the sun, to compare notes, and to realign things in a much better way here as we move forward. So I really like this here as being a good thing, and the bright spot of the Mercury retrograde cycle, which is about 3 weeks. Not only do I consider this a really good thing and the bright spot of the Mercury retrograde cycle, but it also usually does mark the halfway point of Mercury retrograde as well, occurring about a week and a half into the retrograde period. So a lot of good things that are going on here. What is the good thing that's going on here? Well, again, Mercury is a lot about the way we think and communicate, and also to our physical, tangible environment and what is going on there, because it correlates to both Gemini, an air sign, and Virgo, an earth sign, naturally. And when it's retrograde, it means redoing those things, or readjusting them, or reevaluating them, rethinking them as we move forward. And when it meets with the sun, right? And the sun is about the core of our being, our identity, and it's also very bright. We usually get some important insight, especially at a full moon, when the moon's very bright. The sun, the moon, very bright, major. Maybe this is making it extra significant. We're getting an extra significant illumination here about what needs to be redone in our lives, and how it needs to be redone, and in what way, and about the progress that we have made so far at this time. Okay. And the illumination, right, that we're getting is how to adjust the big things and the structure of our life here, with the Mercury retrograde being in Capricorn. And it's to make them, with the full moon in Cancer, more in alignment with our emotions here, and with our intuition, and with what's more meaningful to us. Okay. So that's what I want to say there. It doesn't add too much different to the interpretation I've given you so far here, because I do take a lot of things into consideration, when I give you the context of these things. And I do believe that all of the astrological aspects are very complementary of one another. So it doesn't really tell you too much different than what I've already told you, other than to say there are multiple things at play here in the astrology at this time, giving us insight here about what is important to us, and what's in alignment with our true soul, and about how to correct the things that aren't, and fix the things that aren't, and redo the things that aren't, to make them better. That I think is really powerful here, and coming on really strong, powerful, strong insights about what isn't right, how to do it better. That's more in alignment with us. Okay. What else do I want to say here? This could be, in some ways, us taking action. This could be, in some ways, not only us getting insights here about what isn't in alignment with us and how to fix it, but it could also be us taking action to do it as well and making choices and decisions about that too, especially because full moons do tend to be more active times, and full moons are a function of an opposition, which is about choices and decisions, right? Because once you get insights about what's working for your soul and what's not, typically you need to make a choice or a decision about what to do about that so that you can take action to fix it. So it could also be a combination of both here that is going on at this time. Okay, the next alignment that I want to point out here about this full moon is that it's also making a sextile over here to the North Node and Uranus and Taurus. Okay, this to me is also a very good thing. Lots of good things going on here with this full moon. It's a good thing because it's a sextile, which I always interpret in a positive way, and I tend to like the North Node. What is the good thing going on here? Well, with the full moon in Cancer, we're getting insights about what is and is not in alignment with our true soul, our truth, our intuition, and how to fix it, and making choices and decisions about how to do so, right? And that is a good thing because this is a sextile. A good thing what? Taurus is about needs and values, us understanding what those are. It's also about stability and security. It's about our confidence. It's about fertility and abundance. Here, the North Node is about progress to our destiny, and Uranus is about the sudden and the unexpected. So what that means to me, right? This insight we're getting about what's in alignment with our soul and what's not and how to fix it, and these choices that we're making are helping us suddenly and unexpectedly to feel much better. Well, maybe they're coming suddenly and unexpectedly, and not only are they coming suddenly and unexpectedly, they're helping us suddenly and unexpectedly to feel much better, I think, about ourselves, about our experience. Like there's more potential, more fertility, more abundance here, and to feel more stable, secure, and confident here in our own skin, in what we're realizing here, in what we're working through. That's going on. That's, I think, going to work this time, you know, in a more core and foundational way to our experience. Okay. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here about this full moon. In addition to the full moon opposing Mercury, sextile Uranus and the North Node, it's also making a little bit of a square over here to Chiron and Aries. Now, this is a little bit of a difficult alignment here because it is a square and because Chiron's involved. How is it difficult? Well, Chiron tends to bring fears, insecurities, doubts, and Aries, being a martial sign, which is currently still retrograde, is a lot about our behaviors, our actions, and especially these actions we're taking to redo some of this stuff that's more in alignment with our emotions and our intuition and our soul's needs. So what this means to me here is that, yes, at this full moon, we're getting lots of insights here about the truth of our soul and what's important to it and what needs to be redone from the past 2 years in particular that's not in alignment with that. And we're also making choices and decisions about what to do with this insight, to act on it, which is very, very good. I think helping us to feel like we're making progress, we're making our situations more fertile, more abundant, more in alignment with who we are, more stable, more secure, and bringing us more confidence suddenly and unexpectedly. But even though all those good things are happening, I still think there are some reservations within ourselves or some fears. I think there's still some reservations, some fears and insecurities here about us maybe having to redo some of this stuff or make these decisions or honor more of our emotions here and more of our soul at this time. That could be quite hard, making us hesitate or not fully follow the drill, right? To do all this stuff that we need to align our lives and fix these things towards our emotions. That can be quite hard. Why is there perhaps some fears or misgivings here about our situation? Well, I think part of the reason why we're a little bit afraid to follow the drill is because I don't think we've really honored our emotions in a very, very long time, and our soul and what's truly in alignment with that, and gotten in touch with that, especially with Pluto being in Capricorn opposite Cancer for so long. So I think for us all of a sudden to be caring about our own emotions and our own feelings, our own well-being here, and to be in alignment with our own soul, I think that is an unfamiliar experience, a foreign feeling here that maybe feels a little unsafe, if we want to throw that word around, with the moon being in Cancer here, even though it's really ultimately going to make us safer and in our best interest here. That's going on. And because maybe we feel like guilty and ashamed for like having feelings or honoring feelings after all of this time here as well. So that's what I want to say is going on there. Okay. And that's a really important point here that I want to linger on, is the fact that we're getting beautiful insights, right, about what is truly in alignment with our soul and what is not, and how to fix it. And we're making decisions about how to do it. Suddenly and unexpectedly, they're in our best interest, but we're really struggling, I think, to fully follow through on these insights about what's true to our soul the whole way, because we're afraid of honoring our emotions, being vulnerable, accepting them, feeling feelings, that's going on. That's really important here, because us not following through here to fully honor our emotions and what we're feeling and what's in alignment with our soul to end and begin whatever needs to be done here, I think can potentially create problems very soon after this full moon here. And that's because of a few other alignments that are not related to the full moon, but that are happening here that I just want to point out. And that's going to be Mercury retrograde. And the few days after this full moon, Mercury is going to pass the sun here and the moon, right? It's going to keep going backwards, and it's going to make a trine here to Uranus and Taurus here before it hits the North Node, which I tend to like. Uranus and Taurus, I don't really care for too much, but the North Node I tend to like. And it's going to hit Uranus first, which is a bit of a challenging aspect here. It's Mercury retrograde trine Uranus is a bit of a challenging aspect because Uranus doesn't really like to be in Taurus here. That's going on that can create some kind of issues or some kind of challenges that may come up suddenly here and unexpectedly. At this time, that may shake your confidence with it being in Taurus or create some kind of instability. And it does feel more like an event with it being so close to the full moon that's going on, which typically can bring big events or bring things to the surface to be dealt with here at this time. So what that indicates to me here is that we're getting insights, right, about our soul and what's important to us and what's true to us and what we need to fix from the past 2 years that hasn't been working for us. And we're starting to make choices and decisions about how to handle that and what to do, and maybe starting to do a little bit of things to fix a little bit of stuff to realign our life in a better way with these insights that is helping us feel unexpectedly better. But even though we're doing a little bit to align our lives more towards our soul and our emotions, we're not really doing enough. And because we're not really doing enough, that I think can create unexpected issues here. It can create unexpected issues because we're leaving things kind of half done, half and half in alignment with our emotions, but half not, which can confuse us here at this time and isn't fixing the issue, and which may expose more issues, right? Because when something's kind of half done but half not, right, it can bring more things to the surface that may come up suddenly and unexpectedly that may challenge us here. That is going on that I think can be a bit hard here. And because of that, I think I'm now gonna give you the advice, right? I usually like to give advice in all my horoscopes here. I think the advice is really gonna have to do with these next and last alignment I'm gonna mention. Sorry, my screen keeps going in and out. But the last alignment I'm gonna mention, one of the last, is gonna be Venus here in Aquarius at this full moon in Cancer, making a square to the nodal axis here, which includes the South Node in Scorpio and the North Node in Taurus. And this is a big part of my interpretation and why I've interpreted a lot of other things and the astrology the way I have in this video. When planets square the nodal axis, which is what Venus is about to do, it indicates, or is called a skip step in evolutionary astrology, which is the type of astrology that I do here. And when you have a skip step in evolutionary astrology, which in this case is Venus, because Venus is the planet squaring the nodal axis, what tends to happen is this skip step, we either don't do or we do a little bit instead of a lot and instead of as much as we need, right? That's why we call it a skip step. We skip it. We skip it. We don't do it here. And the reason why the planet squaring the nodes is skipped is because it's halfway in between the south node and it's halfway in between the north node, and it gets confused. What do I do? Do I do the south node, which has to do with the past, the old thing? Do I do the north node, which is about the new thing? I don't know. I'm 50-50. I'm 50-50. I can do either. So it gets confused here, and we stop and hesitate and don't really do what needs to be done here in order for us to truly move forward in a better way. And because of this, right, because of this alignment, the advice, right, is we need to consciously choose. We need to consciously choose to do the thing we're not doing, or to do the thing we're not doing enough, right, to do it more here, and to follow through with it here until the end. And Venus is an Aquarius, and Aquarius is a lot about breaking free from things, breaking free from things that I believe with the full moon in a Cancer are not in alignment with our true soul that we're understanding now, and are not really working for us. And that are also, Aquarius has to do with authentic, that are not authentic to us as well. Not only is it about breaking free from things that are not in alignment with our soul and not authentic to us, but it's also as well about doing things innovatively, revolutionary, doing them differently, uniquely, and different from the way we've always operated in our own lives here before that's going on. So the advice here really for this full moon in Cancer is saying you're doing great. You're understanding what your soul's needs are, what your emotions are, what your intuition's telling you. It's wonderful. You got to follow it through. You have to choose. You have to consciously choose to continue to break free from things that are no longer working for you emotionally, that are no longer in alignment with your soul, your authentic truth here. And you got to keep doing things in a unique and different way that you've never done them before, right? If you want to get a different result that's more in alignment with your soul, you got to do things very differently here, because that is going to prevent a lot of problems that could occur after this full moon, or not prevent a lot of problems that could occur, but it's going to help you fix them better, fix these problems better, or work through them more easily here as you move forward. Okay, not only do I want to note that about this alignment here, but I also want to note too, that there is a resolution node here when it comes to a skip step according to evolutionary astrology, which means one of the nodes works better than the other to help you make this conscious choice here and resolve this thing, either the north or the south. And at this time around, it's the south node that's more helpful, because Venus most recently touched the south node more than the north node just a few months ago. Okay, the south node is in Scorpio. Scorpio is a lot about change within ourself, transformation within ourselves. It's also about change with relationships and change with money. And it's also about endings and beginnings. So not only is the advice here, you have to consciously choose to follow through on what your emotions are telling you so that you can be more free and be more authentic to yourself here, and to do things in a unique way. But in order for you to break free and to be more authentic to yourself here, and to do things in a different way, a lot of you are going to need to make more changes to end. I think it's more about endings, right? We don't really want to begin stuff until Mercury goes direct, which is still like a week and a half away. We need to make more choices to end things with relationships, end things with money that aren't working, because that is going to get the freedom and the authenticity here to help us move forward. Okay, another thing I want to note too about this full moon and what's going on at this time is that it is happening days before Mars is going to go direct here in Gemini, which by the way is in a trine, is in that Venus, which is coming into a skip step here as well. And I also think that this is meant to be helpful here, if we can follow through with the drill, helpful because it's a personal planet going direct, which I tend to like, bringing more forward momentum here, especially because Mars has been retrograde for some time. So I do like this. What is this good thing here? Well, Mars is about action, doing things. It's also too about kind of like our life force in a lot of ways, or our passion or drive to like make good things happen in life for ourselves. And it's in Gemini, which is a lot about our mind, a lot about clarity, a lot about feeling more easy going, more flexible here. That's happening too, and more able to express ourselves at this time with like less roadblocks, less issues here that's happening. So I think my thoughts on that is that if we can continue to follow through to realign things in our life that are not in our soul, and don't give up and don't back out halfway, then I think, and not be afraid to make the endings with relationships and money, and have the hard conversations in order to do that, then that's going to help us, once all is said and done, feel much better, like a breath of fresh air, more lighthearted, and more able to assert ourselves, communicate about ourselves, get things done, in our lives, and just feel much better about what is to come here after this point. Okay. And I think that's all that I'm going to mention here in this video, because that's it. I'm just going to repeat that one last time here without the astrological jargon, so that you can hopefully get a different and a better idea of what's going on. So let me do that now. What I think is going on here at this full moon in Cancer is that we're getting a lot of positives, insight and illumination here about the truth of our own soul, and what's important to us, and what's meaningful for us, and what's in alignment with that and our intuition. Not only are we getting a lot of insights here about that, but we're also getting a lot of insights too about how to fix or redo or readjust a lot of things in our life from the past 2 years that are not in alignment with these understandings that it is that we're getting about our soul. In addition to that happening here, we're also at this full moon making choices here about what to do with these insights and about what needs to be fixed here, so that we can take action to realign our lives in a much better way. That's going on, that's going to make us feel more secure and feel more stable and feel much more grounded here as we move forward. Okay, but even though we're getting a lot of these beautiful insights here about what needs to be redone, and starting to make choices about how to act to fix things that are no longer in alignment with that, I think there is a part of us that is still hesitating to really follow through. That's hesitating to really follow through all the way to completely realign, not just one or two things in our lives to be in alignment with our soul, but all the things in our lives in alignment with our soul. And because we're understanding what's important to us and what we need to fix, but we're not really fixing everything. And we're kind of hesitating and holding back because of fear. We're afraid to follow our emotions. We're afraid to honor those after being alienated for those from so long. Here, what may happen is that we may either create issues suddenly and unexpectedly because we're not following through here, or unexpected issues may arise because we're sending mixed messages here about what is going on. That can be quite hard. And in order to fix this weird stuff that's coming up, all that needs to be done, very simple, we need to just continue to follow through to honor our emotions, not just a little bit, but all the way. And in order for us to continue to follow through to honor our emotions and align with our truth, we're going to need to break free from more things that aren't working for us from the past, which means to end especially a lot of relationship and money situations here in order to get there. And we need to not be afraid to do things in radical, unique, innovative ways. And once we follow through and do that here, then I think we're going to feel much better about our situation, more able to move forward, more pep in our step, more lighthearted, and more able to communicate about ourselves and assert ourselves and our interests as we move forward, which is going to be quite nice. Okay, and that's it. I think that's all that I have to say for now, because that's it. I'm just going to go ahead and take a look at your inside degrees here. Your inside degrees were not written by me, but they were written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings for each of the degrees from Spirit, and I just really appreciate his work, so I like to read it here to give you more insight about what's going on. Okay, this full moon in Cancer is at 16 degrees Cancer. That's going on. Let's see. Which one do I want to read? Sometimes I like to read the degrees around it. Okay, I think I want to go to 16. Maybe we'll do that because that is the degree of the full moon here, and I do think that one's good. Okay, this is what it says: magnificent aplomb. Whoops. Knowing how to do it right, ingrained with staggering soul memory, the lineage taken further, attainments in other lives grant in this one carte blanche to do what is to do, to be what is one, to be what is in one to be, offering to the world sparkling gifts, effortless presence and composure, authoritative stance. So what strikes me so far about this inside degree that I like a lot is it talks about knowing how to do it right, ingrained with staggering soul memory. I really like that because that is a big part, I think, of my interpretation here and of what's going on. Is that, remember I said in this video, we're getting insights. We're getting insights about what is true to our soul and what is more meaningful to us here and our situation in order for it to occur, which is positive, to redo a lot of stuff. And that to me is knowing how to do it right. Because when you honor the truth of your soul and who you are at your core, you're going to get a better outcome. That's always the right way to do it. It's always the right way to do it. To do things that are in alignment with who you are and who your true soul is, that's going to fix a lot of stuff. So I do like it here as well. Not only do I get that from it, but to me, the attainments in other lives means a lot about the past, learning a lot from the past and from what we've done so far. So not only are we getting knowledge about how to do it right, our new chapter in life right this time with more insights, but I think these insights are based on, a lot of lessons that we've learned over the course of the past, few years in order to get here. It's like all of those lessons and wisdom are now kind of coming together in order to help us move forward. Yeah, not only that, but I do think this inside degree is also saying that the intuition is on point here, speaking to you a lot as well. That's going on, especially with the last line. It says ancient visions are fulfilled and the world opens up right on time at the crossing point. So I do, ancient visions to me reminds me of intuition, or maybe even of spirit intervening, to try to guide us and nudge us on this better trajectory here at this time too. Okay. That then leads me now to the next degree, 17 degrees, the degree after the full moon, which I also think can be insightful here that I want to look at. And that inside degree says this: trance states is natural evolution, being inside the inside, yet staying under and weaving a web in time of remembrance and forgetfulness and remembrance. So I think too that I like this thought of like being inside the inside, because what that means is like we're still in the middle of something, right? We're not still in the middle. We're in the center, in the center of something, that still needs to be like taken care of, right? Because we're inside of it and not outside of it. So not only do I feel that at this full moon in Cancer, like we are getting a very important inner knowing, perhaps from our intuition, about how to do it right, how to fix a lot of things in our lives to make it more in alignment with our soul here. But I think that it's a process like that. That's what I get. It's a process, not only that has layers to it, that these insights that we're getting have layer upon layer upon layer, like little nesting dolls. And not only do these insights that we're getting of knowing how to do it have a lot of layers to it, but there's also a lot of steps, there's also a lot of steps here in order to readjust things here as well, that I think is going to take time to weave it all together, to weave all the lessons we've learned together and, adjust things accordingly. Okay. I also like this thought here of persuading, teaching, invoking, insisting that what comes next, that we must get on with the dance, because that does indicate, this thought of like having to follow through, right? What comes next must come next. Got to do it. Got to keep going. I like that it indicates the need to follow through here. Not only that, but other things that about this inside degree Cancer 17, talks about being, look at this, coldly detached from whatever does not serve. The collective voice of consciousness at her post, conscious, attentive and scrutinizing. So another thing that I like here that maybe I didn't, that I don't think I mentioned earlier in this video, is not only does it look like there's a need to consciously choose, right, to go all the way with these intuitive insights and all the layers, uncover all the layers in the insight, uncover all the layers in your physical environment here. But I think it's interesting that it's also saying to kind of, there's also a need to kind of detach from the emotion, the sadness I'm getting of leaving this old stuff behind, or of disappointing people who are no longer resonant with you. I get this sense too of like, right, like coldly detached from whatever does not serve. Especially too, because the Venus squaring the nodal axis is an Aquarius, and Aquarius is not really like a super sensitive emotional sign. So I think another thought that maybe I didn't say earlier is that, you need to go all the way to realign things in your life, all the layers, all the details here, that to fix all the things that are not in in alignment with the truth of who you are, and you got to make changes to do that. Endings, especially with relationships and money, and you can't let that bother you. Like, you can't let ending things that aren't in alignment stop you from doing it, bother you, get you down. Like, you just have to do it, you know, and to do what is ultimately going to be best here for the situation, even if it kind of feels uncomfortable. Because if we let our emotions kind of get the best of us here, you know, and become so sad for the people we're leaving behind or for the things we did wrong in the past, we may never do what needs to be done here. That's going on. Okay, so I think that's another thought here too, that I think is important at this time. You know, and true emotional strength, right? I think that's what a lot of Cancer's about. Cancer's about real emotional strength, especially because the moon is at home in Cancer, where it is during this full moon. And real emotional strength is not doing things because you're afraid of like hurting other people, you know, or like the consequences. Like, real emotional strength is like doing what you know you need to do, even if there are consequences, because it's what's true to you, you know, and you know, it's the best thing for the situation that's the most in alignment with it. So I think there might also be a need as well to put behind some of your fears here around ending things that are clearly not working for you anymore. Okay. Anything else that I want to say? Okay. Another thought here too, just looking at Cancer 15. Cancer 15 does talk more about getting the insights in the first place, right? Like the process of getting the insights here. And it does indicate that the process of getting the insights in general, because I've talked a lot about what the insights are and what to do with them after, but it does say that getting the insights in general may be a little bit of like a difficult or scary process that's going on. I feel like that was more not the full moon in Cancer, like maybe a theme at like the first quarter moon in Aries, and that was going on. So I feel like that this was really a theme that was relevant before this full moon and not exactly at this full moon, but I did just want to mention it because a lot of you don't see my other videos. I film a lot more on my website, but like another thing I want to note too is that some of you may struggle to get these insights here about what's going on in the first place here. And what you need to realize is that if you're struggling to even get some of these insights about what's off in your life and how to align it in the first place here, it might be because there's fear in the way, or you're not tuning into spirit and your intuition and letting yourself do that, or getting in those spaces here, and that you might need to create, right, quiet spaces, I think, for you to listen to spirit and to tune into spirit at this time in order to get there. And you also need to note that some of these insights here could come suddenly and unexpectedly too. So keep those things in mind. And what really struck me here is that the things in this inside degree, which talks about spirit must wait until all personal dramas are exhausted, you know, because the soul is divided between two diametrically opposed realities, which is the past ways that don't resonate with our emotions and the future ways. So just saying, if some of you are like, nope, not getting any insights about my soul and how to readjust these things, it's like, well, maybe spirit's trying to speak to you and you're not listening, you know, and you just need to quiet yourself and listen. And it can happen, and it can happen when you least expect it, you know, suddenly and unexpectedly, if you let yourself go there. Okay, and I think that's all that I'm going to say here in this video, because that's it. I'm just going to go ahead now and pull a card. So let's look at that together. Okay, your card for this time period is the Page of Wands here, reversed, and at the bottom of the deck we've got the Nine of Cups here, upright. Okay, what do I want to say about this? The Nine of Cups to me does remind me a lot of Cancer, and of our emotions and of our intuition here, especially because it is a Cups card. Cups are about emotions, and there is a lot of water here at the bottom of this card. Another thing that really strikes me about this card as well is that the water does actually look a bit tumultuous here, or if not tumultuous, just like very strong in this card. So I am getting the sense here that our intuition and spirit, it really is trying to speak to us very, very strongly, and our emotions here very strongly about like what is right in our lives and what is not, and really what needs to be fixed here at this time. So I think that I do get this message that spirit is speaking to us. We just need to not be afraid to listen here. That's going on. Okay, not only do I get the sense with that, but the Page of Wands is reversed. And to me, the wands can be more bold and more forthright, like more action oriented here. And it is interesting because in this card, this bird is holding like a magic lamp or something. And so I'm getting the sense that our emotions, and it's reversed. And so I'm getting the sense that our emotions and our intuition and spirit is actually telling us big time here what's not right in our lives and what needs to be adjusted here, but that we are either scared of our emotions, scared of these insights and denying them here, or afraid to act on them here, or acting on them in the wrong ways, because sometimes pages are youthful energy that can be immature, especially when reversed, or we're acting on our emotions in the wrong ways here that could be creating difficulties, preventing like our dreams, wishes with the lamp here from coming true. And maybe this, what this is saying here is a call to be more conscious about your emotions and what you're feeling and what they're telling you here, and the fears surrounding them. Maybe that's where I'm trying to get at here, is because when you're more conscious of your emotions and your fears, it gets easier to work with them here and to make them happen. Because maybe what's going on for some people, right, is that your emotions are telling you something, you're ignoring it. You're ignoring what your emotions are telling you about what's off in your life. And because you're ignoring it, your life is not aligned in a good way that you want. And some of you may be acting out, and that can include just acting in silly ways that like are unhelpful. But it can also include, I should also note too, I'm getting this feeling like because the sea is so tumultuous, some kind of weird discussions or maybe arguments. I don't know if I get quite an argumentative vibe, but can be creating, maybe I need to say passive aggressiveness, right? That's more of what the Cancer will do. Some kind of like passive aggressiveness, or like subconscious tension within your situations here. And I think the message is to be aware of your own emotions here and be aware of other people's emotions, because if you're not aware of them, or if other people aren't aware of them, they may do silly things that can create tension or disagreements that are passive aggressive, right? That can be very uncomfortable. Another thought that I have to say here, right, because I'm trying to tie it all together, I'm not doing that great of a job here, but if you find that that's you, that you're kind of in a bad mood, or moody, or just like, tumultuous emotions, if you find that that's you, then I think that that's a sign here that you're ignoring maybe what your emotions are telling you, or not following through on what your emotions are telling you here, and getting mad at external things that you need to fix, right? And that are in your ability here in order to adjust. So, and that if other people are getting mad at you, right, and vice versa, and that other people who are getting mad at you, it's really not about you, it's about them and their inability to assert themselves and assert their true needs here, and to follow through on the adjustments that's going on. So that's what I think I have to say. Sorry, maybe to repeat that one more time to hopefully get it right. I feel there's a lot of strong emotions and intuitive impressions at this time, which are meant to be very, very helpful here. about our situation and what's not working and how to adjust it. But even though it's meant to be very helpful, we may either be ignoring, what our emotions and our intuition truly is telling us, which can make us act out in weird, unhelpful ways and feel moody and cause tension and be passive aggressive, or other people act out in weird ways and be moody, emotional, passive aggressive. That's going on. And what you need to understand is that this moodiness you may be feeling or other people may be feeling really has nothing to do with the relationship itself or with external things. It has to do with each person internally, and the fact that you are ignoring your emotional needs and not doing the thing yourself, right? It's up to each of us as individuals to fix our lives, that you may not be doing the things yourself that you need to do in order to stand up for yourself and your needs. Here, that's going on. And that once you do that, I think you're going to start to feel much better here about your situation here that's going on. Okay. Asserting yourself. There's a need to assert yourself, and assert yourself doesn't mean be mean. There are positive ways for you to assert yourself and just be like, hey, this isn't in alignment with me anymore. Like, let's just go our separate ways, or hey, this isn't in alignment. Can we change it up? Like, it doesn't mean it be mean. Asserting yourself, you can assert yourself in a more positive way too. And maybe that's another thought that I have, especially too, because Mars is going to go direct very soon after this. And, Cancer too. A lot of people see Cancer as like kind of like a weak sign, because it's, sensitive and all of that. But Cancer to me can actually be a very strong sign, have a lot of inner strength here, because the emotions, when they're not dealt with, can create moodiness, instability, anger. But when the emotions are truly honored and understood and nurtured, it can make you really unshakable here, because you don't need anyone else's approval. You don't need anyone else to keep you safe. You can keep yourself safe, and you know who you are. So another thought that I want to give to you is that you can fix a lot of these things in your life that are out of alignment with you. They don't have to be a huge issue, and they don't have to cause a huge argument. A lot of times when arguments occur, it's because one of the person in the argument, or both of the people, right, are insecure here, and are not strong in their truth, and are not strong in their emotions here. And that once you get more comfortable with your own truth, a lot of the need for arguments and disagreements go away, because it is what it is, and I am who I am, and nothing's wrong with you, nothing's wrong with me, we're just different, and it's fine. So I think that maybe that's the last message there. Yeah. Emotions are coming on strong and intense. If you're ignoring them, this is very painful, and possibly for other people, creating disagreements. It's not about them, though. What it is about what's happening internally in each of us. And if our emotions are feeling very negative, it may be because we're not honoring them here, and we're denying them and bottling them up and resisting making the changes ourselves in order to fix that. And once we make the changes here, things should get better, and you don't have to be rude and angry in order to realign your life to get it to where you want it to be. A lot of times being rude and angry is a sign of insecurity, and fear, and of not really knowing yourself, and feeling unsafe. You don't have to assert yourself in a wrong way. You can assert yourself here in more pleasant ways, especially too, because we're coming up to a third quarter moon in Libra as well. That's going on there. And maybe that's one last thought here, is that in order for you to assert yourself, in this more like pleasant way, there's no need to fight and all of that. In order to do that, you might need to get more in touch with your truth, because the more you get in touch with your emotions, your truth, and the divine and intuition, and honor that, then you're going to find it naturally easier to do this other stuff that it is that you need, and to give yourself a little bit of time to get right with your emotions here as well. And maybe even another message with the Four of Swords here at the bottom of the deck is compassion, and be kind to yourself as you work through these emotions and figure this stuff out here in the meantime, or be kind to yourself even if some of you do get a little upset and make some mistakes here. Because you're going to be fine, and we can fix this, right? With the Mercury retrograde, you can fix this as long as you just don't give up. So I think that's all I'm going to say here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that you all have a good full moon, and I will talk to you on the next video.